Hello, welcome back to Madrona's Pulse Teachings. I am Iris, and there's Nikita, and we are chatting with you about our upcoming Libra Full Moon. So this is happening on April 12th at 5:21 p.m. Pacific time, and we are being literally pulled into this mid-April full moon, and so there's a little bit of magic with this one, and yet there's also some dynamic energy, as we tend to have, and just remembering that we are still emerging out of eclipse season as we are coming into this full moon. We're adjusting to the new rhythms that eclipse season is always we're literally still potentially coming out of these eclipse portals that partial solar eclipse and that total lunar eclipse in March really had us journeying through. And of course, we're also very much in the very beginning, first breath stages of adjusting to Neptune in Aries. And so that switch of Neptune and Aries can definitely be readjusting cycles, sleep cycles, embodied cycles. It is a massive energy shift. And again, it takes a little while to kind of find our new rhythms as we're merging into these major new cycles. And so this is our first lunation that's kind of pulling us out of eclipse season. And again, this is a Libra full moon. So with this full moon, that means that we have the sun in Aries at 23 degrees of Aries, and we have our moon at 23 degrees of Libra. So with a full moon, we kind of work with this archetypal illumination that's happening, and that moon is in Libra, and that sun is almost exactly conjunct Chiron, our wounded healer. Okay, so Chiron being the archetype of the wounded healer, that is a very, very deep soul level of wounding and healing that we experience in this world, in this life. And our natal Chiron shows us where we kind of carry, it is a Chiron burden, where we carry that soul burden that we are healing and moving into a much more integrated, wise self with in this life journey. And transiting Chiron is, of course, where we are all experiencing that kind of archetype of healing a primal wound. It's especially a primal wound with Chiron and Aries. And that Chiron is conjunct our sun, and of course opposite our moon. So this is a cycle in which there could be healing illuminations coming. And yet, whenever Chiron is active, there can also be tenderness. Chiron is absolutely a grief signature, so it can also be pulling up grief. So just knowing that this is a Chiron-infused full moon. Okay, now it's a Libra full moon, so that moon is in Libra. Libra rules one-on-one relationships. Libra is a sign that is yearning for peace and harmony, especially in one-on-one relationships. It is also a sign that's associated with the type of peace that comes from justice and commitments to equity. An important theme right now. And as that's happening, there's this sun conjunct Chiron in Aries. So that this axis, the Libra axis, and the Aries relationship with it is really heightened as we come into this full moon on the 12th. And this is, potentially one of the themes that could come up with this is that lunation, that illumination is happening in Libra, right? And it's wanting to show us something about our one-on-one relationship that directly relates to the healing path of our primal Aries self. And our Aries self is our desires. So there's something about this stage as we're emerging out of eclipse season, as we're entering into Neptune in Aries, which is all about new embodied paths of our spirituality syncing up with our energy in this life, about showing up as ourself, as a self that we couldn't show up as before. Because Chiron is here with that sun saying, yes, it's tender. Yes, it could be related to soul trauma, trauma in this life, some type of experience or wounding that has taught us not to fully be present with ourself, such that whenever we were in one-on-one dynamics, we weren't really showing our whole self. And Libra has this ability to be a bit of a chameleon and to kind of show up as what is going to keep that status quo. We all know this because we were journeying with the South Node in Libra for 18 months, and that South Node is now in Virgo. But you can remember back to when we were working on really clearing out those Libra kind of fear-driven patterns of kind of hiding parts of ourselves in order to keep the peace in a one-on-one dynamic. But when we're not showing up as our full self, well, then we're not really showing up in the relationship, and the relationship isn't really founded on full honesty. And sometimes that's not intentional in the Libra archetype. It's often there from a survival mechanism that's ingrained in us pretty strongly for all different reasons. And yet something about this full moon, that Aries with the sun, is saying, it's time. It's time for this part of me, and this is wherever you have 20, 23, 24, 22 degrees of Aries. It's time for me to really claim that a little bit. And there could be fear around that. There could be grief around that. But the thing about Chiron is it's a deep, deep patterning of a soul wound that we have to journey through. The path to integration, the path to embodying the wise teacher archetype in our own sense of self that is Chiron, is only claimed by journeying through the wound. That is how Chiron works. And so for anyone that is in their Chiron return right now, which happens when you're around 50, okay, then this full moon is activating that Chiron placement in your natal chart. And so this could be a very potent moon for you. And there's something about showing up in our one-on-one spheres and also in relationship with ourself. That's always a core baseline aspect of Libra, is how we're in relationship with ourself and with others. About healing, about claiming that Aries primal self, okay? And this full moon is also in a wide square with Mars, which is very important because Mars is the ruler of Aries and Mars is in Cancer, okay? So Mars is at around 27 degrees of Cancer at this time. And that right there is another layer. So not only are we claiming this kind of Aries part of ourselves so that we can come into more balanced and honest and actually equitable relationships in our lives, but that claiming involves self-care and it involves self-love with strength devoted to self-love and self-care. So this is a very particular, that Mars is a really important layer that it's talking to this full moon. And it also says, if there are those one-on-one dynamics where you're not able to feel like you're either taking care of yourself when you're in that dynamic, or there's not enough care for yourself, there could be some information that comes about those relationships in our lives. And ultimately, this is about wanting us to be able to bring that Mars drive. In Cancer, and this is a Mars who's going direct through territory that it went through retrograde in Cancer. So this is a Mars who's integrating that journey of self-care, self-love, radical rest, rest as care, rest as action, okay? It is literally the blending of the yin and yang in one, is Mars in Cancer. And it's very strong and potent and deeply needed in our kind of patriarchal, colonial Western cultures, is to learn the strength of vulnerability, to learn that kind of strong back, soft front, soft center. And that energy is infused itself into this full moon, saying that something about this healing moment for ourselves, and it is for ourselves, it's Aries, it's our embodied self, is about self-care, is about self-love. And so this full moon is not necessarily just about like, I want this, I'm going for this. It's, I need this to take care of myself. I need this to heal myself so that I can be more embodied. And that is going to help me show up in the one-on-one relationships that are here to support me and me to support the other person and create that beautiful dynamic and loving dynamic. Okay, so that's an important layer. And that Mars is also in a trine to the North Node, meaning that there's this supportive destiny. We do like to use the word destiny with the transiting North Node about whatever's coming up right now. So whatever's coming up for you around this full moon, especially around this kind of axis of myself in relationship with others. And Libra is all one-on-one relationships. Yes, it includes kind of long-term romantic partners if we have those, but it is friendships, it is colleagues, it is clients, it is how we are in one-on-one dynamics. And so whatever's coming up at this particular moment, you know, there is something that's also working with that North Node in Pisces, and that Pisces area in April, in March, we are in the Piscean waters, okay? And so there's a lot of there is a lot of healing going on, as ironic as it might seem in times of such incredible global turmoil. But there is, you know, it also isn't ironic because it's under the surface. It's deep. It's in our own psyches. It's as we're looking at what is being exposed and what is being mirrored out in the world in terms of collective psyche and fear-based drives that are on hyperdrive. What are we able to feel into and intuit within ourselves and our own healing paths that are always also, of course, part of the collectives that we're part of? And there is massive transformation going on right now. And the North Node is talking to Mars, and Mars is squaring this full moon. And Mars is the ruler of that Aries sun. And of course, Chiron, well, it's in Aries. And who's the ruler of our full moon, our Libra full moon? Well, that is sweet Venus. And Venus is very particular during this full moon. Venus is in Pisces. She's conjunct Saturn, and she is retrograde for the full moon. And within an hour after the full moon, she is direct. Okay. So this is a full moon in which the ruler of that moon, the ruler of Libra, is stationing direct. And it's Venus. And it's Venus conjunct Saturn, who's been conjunct Pisces, who's been conjunct the North Node. And she is on such a journey right now. We are on such a journey with her as she is helping us to recalibrate our soul desire to eventually align with our embodied, very, very personal in this life desire. And for this full moon, she's conjunct Saturn as she's stationing direct, which is this moment of deep, deep reprogramming, restructuring, recalibrating our most inner psyche structures of self as they relate to soul and spirit, to be infused in our personal lives, in our personal story. You know, we use the word soul is used so much, right? Of course, it's a great word. It evokes beautiful things. And yet when we really sit with that word, it is deep. It involves the unconscious. It involves wounds. It involves what our soul is yearning for. It involves the journey to return to source. It involves an interconnected web that we are all part of. And when when we're talking about soul and Pisces, it is deep, deep, deep. It's ocean. It's the depths of the ocean that humans still don't really know what's going on down there, or the full history of. And that's in the psyche. And Venus is there, stationing direct, conjunct Saturn, who is bringing this bone mother wisdom in those depths, restructuring the reality of what is known and unknown in our own personal lives, in the collective, and in the human experience. And that's all becoming very personal, and it's going to become part of, as we move into April and May, as she moves into Aries, she's going to conjunct Neptune. It's becoming embodied in a whole new way. And this full moon, it's all potent. It's all rich. There's all these layers that are part of that cosmic symphony, and it's all going on within us, within psyche. Okay? And one other layer, last but certainly not least, is also what our Juno is up to. Because Juno is retrograde, and now she is at that 0 degrees of Sagittarius, and she is opposite Sedna. And the last video I made, she was coming into that exact opposition. She's in it for this full moon. And she, of course, she's trining Neptune, okay, who's at 0 degrees of Aries. And that Neptune is in a sextile with Sedna. So there is this deep, divine, feminine, transformative energy. Now, Juno is retrograde, and she's about to go back into Scorpio. And there's something being highlighted at this moment about, again, it is about our integrity in relationship, because that's what Juno is about. And that's just a theme that aligns so much with this Aries Libra energy. And Juno is talking to Sedna, who's that galactic wisdom of transformation through archetypal wounding, deep wounding, but also the journey that was always part of that seeded potential to become something so other than the cultural norms that we've been born into, that are dominating, that are part of what we call dominator culture, that are limiting, that are marginalizing. That's all part of Sedna's story. And she literally becomes the Inuit goddess of the ocean. And she's talking to Juno, who is all about our integrity and our commitments. And in Sag, relearning how to have that passion and adventurous spirit in our relationships. And Juno's about to learn that in order to have that, she's got to go into her own depths a little bit more and alchemize. And right in this moment, she's on that threshold of going back into Scorpio, and she talks with this transformative energy of Sedna, who again is all about healing and trauma, mirroring some of Chiron's lessons as well. So emphasizing that this is potentially a healing moment. It's also coming out of eclipse season. It's a big moment. We are adjusting to major energies. I feel like I've been saying in all of my daily posts, whether you see them on Instagram or here on YouTube, there's a theme of slow down. That's always a theme because we've been in Mercury retrograde, we've got Venus retrograde, but also just in these huge archetypal shifts. We need to slow down to hear the messages, to feel in, to glimpse, especially with our intuition, what is emerging and also what is releasing. So it's big times, it's potent times. And I was about to say, I don't know if I think I'll make one more video from this little nook. And then I'll be on the road in this exciting adventure for us. And if you're someone who likes pictures of cross-country trips with lots of animals, then I recommend maybe looking at me on Instagram, the links below, because that's where I also do all my daily posts, but I'll post some astro animal on the road journey stories probably, because I feel there's going to be a lot of moments for those. And I'm sending lots of love, and I'll see you soon. Bye.